Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted that you are part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Amazon Music, Spotify, Ghana, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Tina Shepardson. She is here to celebrate her new book, WALKOUT. Before we invite Tina to walk into the studio to celebrate WALKOUT, we want to invite all the authors that are listening to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Author Services button. That's where you'll find out about our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program. This is a fantastic program that has helped many authors let the world know about their fantastic books. If our panel of teachers, kids, and parents believe that your book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read. And with that status comes a whole lot of tools that can really help your book stand out from the crowd of books that are published every single month. Do yourself a favor, visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on that Author Services button, find out about how the Certified Great Read program can help you and your book. Joining us on the line right now from Syracuse in the great state of New York, she is the author of a really relevant and timely picture book called WALKOUT. Please welcome to the show, Tina Shepardson. Tina, how are you?
Good, Jed. How are you?
Wonderful. Great to have you back in the show. Tina, as you may recall, about a year or so ago, came on and talked to us about the value and benefits of reading aloud and reading, co-reading with our older kids. Tina is a veteran educator, and that was a fascinating show. I'm really excited to have her here today to talk about WALKOUT. And as I said, this is a really timely book because we're living in it. Not only are we living in the age of COVID, but we're also living in the age where young people are standing up and making some noise, saying that they want things to change. And I agree with them in a lot of ways.
I do too. And I think the ages that people are expressing that they want change are also changing. It's typically been adults, college kids, high school kids, but you're starting to see younger kids that are aware of what's happening in the news, want to be a part in their own way. Yeah.
And I love that kids are feeling that they have that are empowered and feel that they can make a difference.
I agree. And I think what's so important is to remember that when they are making a difference, that we help shape how they do it. They know how to do it peacefully, respectfully, because what we are seeing out in the world right now isn't really peaceful or respectful, and it's concerning.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a number of commentators are pointing out, it's not helping the cause at all. It's actually turning a lot of people who were supportive of the protests early on are turning and saying, "Nah, this isn't. We can't support this. This is too much violence."
Yeah, it is. I remember with the first gun violence incident with Columbine, you're going back 20 years. Mm-hmm. And then slowly over time, this is now my 33rd year teaching, and just in the last 5 years, it has increased as a problem for our nation exponentially.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about in WALKOUT. We're talking about a young elementary school girl who wants to kind of break the rules and walk out to be in solidarity with students all over the country who are walking out to protest gun violence, especially gun violence at schools. Am I right?
Yes, you are right. The story itself, I was inspired by an article in the New York Times 2 years ago, 2018, and it's called "How Young is Too Young for Protest? A National Gun Violence Walkout Tests Schools." And what struck me about the article, Jed, is that these were kids in grades 5, 6, and 7 that were aware of what was happening in the news. It was a month after the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shootings in Florida, and they wanted to march with other people in the country. And they were only in 4th and 5th grade, and the article was all about principals' viewpoints, parents' viewpoints, and how kids just wanted to be able to protest and say their part, but do it in a peaceful way, which is why they started to use posters and things of that nature.
Yeah. If you don't have kids in school-age kids, so if you're a grandparent, the kids are older, or if you're the mom of a toddler or somebody that's in daycare, you would may be surprised to learn that kids in elementary schools are practicing the same way we practiced fire drills, same way that schools in the South and the Midwest practice tornado drills. Now a lot of schools are practicing lockdown drills, where the kids get in case of an active shooter or some kind of person on the school property, the kids are learning how to make themselves safe, to shelter in place. I'm glad they're learning that, but I'm horrified that they have to.
Yeah, I'm a child of the 70s, and let's face it, it is such a different time. What the kids are seeing today in our world is very different from what you and I saw. I think the biggest thing that we can do is try to help them understand that we're a community, that we stand together, that we're stronger together, but certainly have those conversations with them in appropriate ways. And those conversations certainly change depending on the age of the kids. A conversation you're going to have with a kindergartner would certainly be very different from a 5th grader.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us about Maddie, the lead character in your story.
Oh my gosh. So Maddie is a girl who, when she heard that the older kids were walking out and that her grade couldn't, she really wanted to do something. So she asked her best friend Stella, who also wanted to help, is a little bit more reticent. She was just afraid that she would be in trouble with the principal. And Maddie goes on to say that it's okay if we're in a little trouble, because the whole reason is that we're trying to stand up so that gun violence doesn't happen to other kids. And this would be our way of doing it. So she organizes kids to make posters during lunch. And in the book, you can see Stella is the only one eating. She's at a table all by herself, but she's watching the kids. And Maddie really pays attention to Stella's feelings. So that's the other layer in the book. It's about the friendship. She doesn't just say, okay, fine, I asked you. She comes back and she checks in with her several times, to the point that on the 3rd time, when Stella still says, I just don't think I can, Maddie starts to reflect, my gosh, am I really doing the right thing here? So she really took Stella's feelings to heart. And I think that's something that sometimes we don't always do with each other in our era today, too. We move so fast and we don't always take into account everybody else's feelings.
I don't know about you, Tina, but I look at the media, I look at social media, I don't think anybody takes the time to consider somebody else's views.
It's true. Everything's click, click, click. You look at an image, next,
Yeah.
and you don't pay attention to it. Sometimes you don't even read what the account has written underneath the image.
Yeah. And the thing that's so troubling is that it doesn't seem as though we're allowed to agree to disagree anymore. Mm-hmm. That was such a beautiful phrase that, okay, we've shared each other's ideas. I'm not going to sway you. You're not going to sway me. And that's okay. We can agree to disagree. But that doesn't seem to work these days. Some people, it's if you disagree, if you say the wrong thing, I think the word is canceled. You can get canceled. And that's really chilling.
Yeah, when I was writing about the friendship, the editor of the book, Dr. Mira Reisberg from the Children's Book Academy, she encouraged me to do that. She said, try to make that friendship deeper so that readers can see that even in a serious situation like this, you can agree to disagree and still remain good friends. So I really tried to bring that out with the girls.
And are you seeing how, I'm not in working with elementary school kids, especially now that I'm not able to get out and perform my live shows. Are you seeing kids able to be respectfully disagree with each other, or is what we're seeing on social media happening in the schools as well?
I see a mix. I think it depends often on the kids themselves. If maybe they have grown up together and just have a history of struggling to agree to disagree. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just whatever the topic is about. It can be something so silly like where you're standing in line, or it can be something much more important, something that happened in class like physical education. But I do find that you really work with the kids. We have the Positivity Project in my school district, and so we really work on those character habits to help them build those skills to be more open-minded and learn how to agree to disagree.
Yeah. One of the things I want to do, you mentioned that you've been teaching for 33 years. My wife has also been teaching for 33 years. I talk a little bit about how the teaching profession has changed in your time teaching.
Oh my gosh. My husband and I were just talking about this the other night because I said, we went remote as a country in March, and literally within a day it was taking your curriculum that you work on with kids face to face and uploading it to a remote location where I see them on a screen. And your wife and I started out 33 years ago with chalkboards and chalk and loose leaf paper that they would do math problems on. And I distinctly remember washing that chalk off the board every single day, all the chalk dust. Mm-hmm. Having more freedom to teach the content to the kids that we thought, A, they could learn and benefit from, and B, that they could enjoy. And we've now moved to the Common Core where it's just very regimented in terms of what we teach and even how we teach. And I'm looking at school in 2 weeks, just like your wife, and hundreds of thousands of teachers across this country where you're either experiencing a hybrid model, half your kids come and half are home for part of the week, and then it flip-flops, or they're home full time. But in any event, you're teaching using many tools on your computer, and that's how you see your students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah, I was thinking that, the tools that you and my wife are using to teach didn't exist 33 years ago.
No, and it's interesting because you have, young adult children, and my daughter just went to college, and I'll ask her to help me, and she is so fast I can't even keep up with her fingers, and I'll say, this is Mom here, could you slow down and walk me through it again? So thank goodness for all the resources that we have in our school districts.
Yeah. I remember when school went remote, my wife had no experience using Zoom. There was no reason for her to use Zoom. And when the call went out, she reached out to my son to learn how to use Zoom and also Google Hangouts. And we literally had to set up 2 telephones, video calls. So one was facing the screen so my son could look at what my wife was doing on the screen, and the other one, it was just insane.
It is. And I almost feel like when I first started teaching, and I didn't use this phrase, I was always uncomfortable learning new things in the beginning. And over the last few years, I wish I remember where I heard it, but it's get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And boy, I'll tell you, I think about that every time. I have tears when I feel like I can't figure something out. I was used to Zoom from taking writing classes online, but I was never used to being the administrator of the Zoom, checking attendance and all these other crazy things. But you slowly figure it out, and it is fun.
Yeah. Well, maybe you might have heard that phrase is something that I love to say. It's something my daughter and I used to talk about a lot when she would tour with me. And, it's just that idea of becoming comfortable being uncomfortable. It's just such a valuable tool in life, that when you get to that spot where you're uncomfortable, you just kind of flow into it and say, okay, I'm ready for where this ride is going to take me.
Yeah. And the worst thing that can happen, which happened to me a lot, my students will tell you, is you start over.
Yeah.
Or you ask one of them to walk you through, when you're new and you're experiencing it. And then bingo, you've grown a little bit. And that's the whole key to the process.
Yeah. We talked about the fact that, a lot of the technology that you're using today didn't exist when you and my wife started teaching. We're talking about the fact that now schools, kids are learning and drilling and how to shelter in place. But there's a lot of, and you talked about, that it's much more restrictive now for you as a teacher with Common Core. I'm guessing too that you're teaching, you're being asked to be responsible to teach your kids a lot of things that you probably weren't expected to teach 33 years ago, things that aren't connected with reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's more, the social, emotional things, the healthy choices, substance, talking to kids about substances. I'm sure that's changed for you too.
It has. As I mentioned earlier, we have the Positivity Project, which has 24 character traits. Each morning, we have 10 minutes, and we work on one trait per week. And we give them, there's videos, there's activities, there's also a lot of discussion. And that was something we never did. I love it because I'm just amazed at the way you can actually show kids, and then you can kind of watch them during the day. And maybe this week the trait is appreciation, and you see a student showing appreciation to someone else, you can point that out. Hank, I love how you just said that to Madeline. She really appreciates that you appreciate. You can point those things out to kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I love the fact that we're doing this, schools are doing the social emotional. That's something that I've been addressing in my educational magic shows, the idea of being respectful, making healthy choices, choosing to be grateful, live gratefully. So what an amazing journey you and my wife have shared over the past 3 decades.
I love it. I love the kids, which is why, because I know I'm going to be leaving the classroom shortly. I knew 5 years ago, I said, Tina, you have got to be able to have something to go to on the other side where you're still working with kids, and you can give back for all that these kids have given me in 33 years. Whether it was an easy child to work with or maybe a difficult child to work with, every single one of them has left an impression on me, and I will miss it. I know Maddie with COVID coming into a better place over time. You can take your show back on the road, or I can go in person and visit kids in schools and just be creative and do the things that I think I was a little bit able to do better in the earlier years when there weren't so many restrictions in what we teach.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I love that you're so excited about introducing the world to Maddie and Stella in through your book WALKOUT. Do you have other projects that you're working on at the moment?
I do. I have a chapter book coming out next year with Clear Fork Publishing that is called Canines Unleashed, and it's about a dog named Hank and Akita, my dog, who wakes up one morning and realizes that he's going to a doggy daycare because his owner, Paisy, that's my daughter's nickname, is going to kindergarten, and all he's ever known is being home with her. So it's really about he's going into an atmosphere where he doesn't know any other four-legged friends, but he's got to find and make friends, and just those trials and tribulations. And don't we as adults and kids go through this all the time?
Oh boy. You know, as you were talking, I had a flashback to my freshman year in high school. I grew up in a neighborhood where half the people were related to me, and went to an elementary, kindergarten through 8th school where, many of the teachers, my parents had many of the, so we just knew everybody, and it was just this really tight knit community. We didn't have much, but we had that friendship and those connections. And then from there, I was going to go to another city, to a private high school. I had no idea where I was going. There was no one there that had any connection to me at all. And I remember walking in that day thinking, what am I going to do? How do I make friends? I've never had to make friends. They were just always there.
And I think sometimes as adults, we forget totally what that's like for kids, middle school kids, college kids, walking in somewhere and starting fresh. We forget that. So, I'm really hoping that this is an avenue, a way for kids to read and laugh along the way and get attached to Hank's adventure. My dogs are on Instagram, and so the characters that Hank befriends in the book are also on Instagram. So it's kind of neat to see, how that all comes together. But it's really cute. I think kids will enjoy it.
And the neat thing about Walkout, and the neat thing about this upcoming book is it's a great way. It opens up the door for parents to sit down and share some of their experiences. Sharing with the kids. I remember starting middle school and not knowing anybody, and how nervous I was. I remember when I was in high school and something happened and we wanted to make a change, and this is how we changed it. I think that's such, like we spoke about before, just using books as a way, as a jumping off point for deeper conversations with our kids, conversations that last a lifetime. I'm sure that as you were driving your daughter to college, that the car ride was filled with conversations that probably started when she was just a little girl.
Oh yeah, we talked about that a lot. And I think even with the books that you're able to share and the conversations you're able to have, those are moments of time that help deepen your relationship with your kids. And in our fast-paced world, I think we don't do it enough anymore. We take it for granted, I think, myself included. We get so wrapped up in what has to be done today, what's due tomorrow. And those conversations, we used to have when we would read books together, picture books all the time when she was little. I missed that time. Yeah. So as the kids get older, you really need to find more ways, and different books, to be able to have those same conversations.
Yeah. Even now my daughter is, living in Baltimore, and my son is living in the western part of the state. But, so we're not reading aloud together anymore, but we're, sharing ideas for different Netflix films that we can check out together and then talk about. And there's lots of ways to continue that conversation as the kids grow older. But the important thing is to start it when they're younger. It's a gift. It's a gift to the kids, but it's also a gift to yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely a gift of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's no better way to find books that you both like. Some, there were times I would pick a book and she was just like, oh, can't we go back and read the other one? And I would say, no, let's try this one. And then you pick the next time. And so you really learn about each other's interests, even just doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know people are going to want to be interested to learn where they can connect with you online.
So online, you can connect with me on my website, which is tinashepardson.com. You can go to my Instagram account, which is at Hank_Madeline, and on Twitter, which is at Shepardson Tina.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of Walkout, Tina Shepardson. Tina, thanks so much for being back on the show with us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It's such a pleasure and such an honor, Jed. I really appreciate it.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be coming to us from the United Kingdom. His name is Tommy Ballum, and it's a really, really fun interview. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to thank our guest, Tina Shepardson. Be sure to check out WALKOUT. Also want to thank my team, starting with my producer, Fatima Khan, my awesome author ambassador, Peggy Cotto, my amazing daughter, Alejandra. Be sure to check out the newly remodeled readingwithyourkids.com website. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me, but most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.